I was I don't know, I was reading something on the internet and they were just like, oh, you should never be, super embarrassed by things that happened to you in the past. Because most likely people don't remember it as good as you do. And that's true to some degree. I do have like the most embarrassing thing that ever happened to me. I probably would never talk about it or anything like that. But I was thinking like, what are some of the most embarrassing things I would share about me? And one of them had to be, I must have been like 19 because I definitely snuck into the club, right? And I was talking to this girl. Now, I want you to imagine this girl. Imagine Avril Lavigne, early Avril Lavigne, if she only dated black guys.
Okay. All right.
Just
I have
whatever you're picturing, that's kind of what
yeah.
I'm dealing with, but also very, very hot. So, but she was a twin.
Okay.
So I take her to twin, like three other friends. We go out to this club. We are having a blast. I'm almost, so we're having a blast. She's sitting on top of the speaker, and I lean in for a kiss. As she does that, she goes like this, puts her hand over my mouth, legs flailing in the air, and she goes, wrong twin. Yeah. So that's the one when, you're driving in the car, and you're just like, oh, I can't believe this happened to me 18 years ago.
Yeah, I mean,
That's one of them for me.
You should have played it off. You should have been like, I'm testing you, making sure you're a loyal sister. That's
Even worse, I found out later it was the actual right twin and they was fucking with me. Yeah. What about you? What's the most embarrassing thing that you're willing to share?
See, I know what you're saying. We're like, oh man, yeah, after time, it'll kind of move on. But it's like, you've seen Superbad, where they're like, that was in the 4th grade. People don't forget. Like
People don't.
Like the general public might forget something, but there's a person or two that will always remember things.
100%.
To be honest, anything from me to like age 12 to like 22 is a pretty embarrassing moment. Like I'm talking like a third of my life is a pretty big embarrassment. And so I don't have any stories that I could just pick because like I'm literally saying there's so many things that like I could go back and like I would kick my own ass like if I could go back in time. Like I was so unaware of anything else around. Like not like to a disrespectful point, just like, oh, I'm just doing what I do. I don't think this has any repercussions or affects anybody else. Like I just do what I do. I used to be the type of person that if somebody like called me out and like challenged if I was like a man, like, with whatever words they want to say, I would just instantly be like, all right, fine, I'm doing it. Or if somebody was like, hey, for $1, and I would just be like, oh, all right, cool. And like, I would just, the things that they're not even like super embarrassing. It's just like, why would you do that? So I can't really give you a specific story right now off the top of my head because like I said, there's a lot of things that I am embarrassed by and regretted by, but they're not bad things because they shape you and mold you for who you are in the future, right?
That's good. And as long as they're things you can learn from an older age, and now that you're older, you can take those experiences and be better. Cool. I was very similar. I had a lot of those dares, and if you dared me, I would definitely do it. The biggest ones is me and my friends would always go to the mall, and I will always be dared to like talk to a girl who's very obviously with somebody else.
Oh,
And I did that a lot. And those are ones that like, yeah, that's not good because I should have definitely been punched in the face more than I have in this life. But that's enough for the embarrassing stuff. Let's go ahead and get it in. What's really good, pot stirrers? Welcome to another episode of Love, War, Challenges. I am MTV Malik. He is Tyler Louder. What's really good? Gang, 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 gang. As we jump into All Stars Season 4, Episode 4, our current star holders are going to be Cara, Rachel, Veronica. The male star holders are going to be Steve, Kefla, and Adam. Not a lot went off in this first A block before we got into the daily. The only thing is, let me ask you, does Tina seem a little relieved that she doesn't have her star?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, like these stars we've talked about in the past and everything, they are very much a burden early on in the game. And we'll discuss this a little bit later on, but this is different than any other season where it's like you've got to earn your way into the final. You don't actually have to earn your way into the final. You could literally finish middle group every single episode and still get a star at the very final episode and get in without ever going into elimination, without ever winning a daily, you can find your way in there. And I've actually thought of this and I've broken this down. So being in the middle is the safest place to be. And yeah, it takes a little target off of her. And maybe it shows people like, hey, Veronica's actually Rachel's number one. I'm her number two.
I didn't even think of looking at it like that. As we get to this daily, daily is going to be called Unbraided Reloaded. We've seen this before, and this is a daily I do like because it's almost always a complete clusterfuck. It's very hard to strategize for. I mean, of course, you got to unbraid it, but once you're in a moving car and things just start going, it's really, really hard to actually have a sound strategy. So it's going to be worked in teams of 5, and it's going to be 4 teams going in 2 heats. First one is going to be orange versus red. Orange is Brad, Adam, Carver, Veronica, Flora. Red is Avery, Jay, Jazz, Brandon, Tina. And red smoked orange. Orange could not get it figured out. The next group is going to be pink versus green. Pink is Ryan, Cam, Laurel, Derek, Steve. And green is Adam, Rachel, Lee, Kefla, and Nicole. And of course, I'm looking down because I didn't like memorize this at all. So I'm just reading it off.
What's fascinating about this challenge is like, this isn't like you're saying it's not something that like you can really like know how to do. Like everybody can be like, oh, I know how to braid and everything. Yeah, when your feet are on the ground and you're using your hands and everything. But having challenges that you can't go into the gym and train every day for is what really makes this show what it is, and it always has. Like sure, we like the puzzle solving, we like the physical strength, the I can outrun you thing, but you have to mix in these types of dailies because it really opens the field for anybody, and it's just in the moment who gets the strategy first. That's what's fascinating.
I 100% agree with you, and I know sometimes we complain about, non-physical eliminations or non-physical dailies and the carnival games, whatever. But guess what? For the challenge to be really effective at what they do, you gotta open up the floor. You gotta allow things that allow somebody like, why is it escaping my name? Her last name's Gray. Sarah, Gauntlet. She won 5.
Yep, Sarah. Yep, you got it right.
Oh, I did. Okay.
Yeah,
awesome.
you were going, so I didn't want to stop you because like you said everything right. So
got it. But you got to open it up to allow people like that to shine. I mean, if this is really going to be something for everybody, it can't always fall on whoever's the fastest. It can't fall on whoever's the toughest or whoever lifts more or whoever is tallest. You got to open it up. And this does it. And I think they hit it right on the head that this is a good way to do it. Now, pink team smoked the green team, and pink team ends up getting the W. And it's going to be a girls' day. Now, we already established that this is a good daily, and the middle group is going to be the safest. I want to, for you and the people who's in the pink team who won this, what do you think is going to be the best strategy for themselves going forward? And the pink team is Ryan, Cam, Laurel, Derek, Steve.
Well, I mean, it's the winning team has nothing to say. They don't really do anything. They just get the win and they just kind of wait and see. And I was thinking about this too a lot of like, man, I feel like maybe you should give them the power of who to vote in, but they actually can send themselves in if they like the matchup. So you know what? They can't have everything. So
it's a good checks and balances amongst the middle and the top group.
Yeah, you have to hope that somebody else puts somebody in that you want to go against, and then you can call yourself in. Yeah, I mean, the winning group, I think needs to this is a momentum based thing because you don't really get much from this outside of being safe. So when we see people like Ryan and Derek who don't win a lot of dailies like at all, I think Derek had like 3 daily wins coming into today. And I couldn't tell you how many Ryan has personally. But I mean, a lot of these guys aren't in the top a lot. And so I think they need to use this as a momentum building thing for the next challenge because they really don't have any equity to play with or use towards anybody else because it is a female elimination day. Laurel and Cam, realistically, when you have the situation, they should be saying like, hey, who do you guys want in? If you put in so-and-so, I'll go in. Like that's almost what you should do. You don't actually have to go in. You could literally get your way that way and be like, hey, if you put in these 2, I'll send myself in and I'm gonna get a star, okay? And then you just step back and go, nah, just kidding, I don't want to go. Like you could do that to like get your way.
You could, but no one would ever trust you again.
I mean, if it was just like you could get out of it. You could be like, oh, it was a carnival elimination. I couldn't risk it, guys. I couldn't risk it. If it was physical, I'd go down there. You know, I mean, you could just play that card maybe 2 times, yeah. And then after that, it would be done. But yeah.
So after the daily, we start getting a scene of Laura and Nicole, and they're starting to talk a little bit, starting to open up. And I was about to say the same thing. Like, I know we're supposed to be covering the episode. I mean, our main focus is, you know, the power rankings at the end, but, and I don't want to sound like an asshole, but man, I could not care less.
It's the craziest thing. And we've had a little love interaction type thing or like flirtation thing on every season of All Stars. We have this happen here. I'm gonna tell you right now, club night and hookups are my least favorite part of the challenge. Since I was like 13 years old watching
Really?
this, like 12. I
love club night because club night either directly precedes or is directly right after, you know, the nomination vote and that mad scramble trying to get votes. It's such an important part of the social gameplay aspect.
But I think club night is very like clicky, and it's very like hide in a corner and talk and everything. Whereas like when they drink in the house, they get more verbal in front of everybody, and that's when you see more TV show drama. But club night, like, I don't care if everybody's dancing, having a good. I don't want these people to have a good time. I want them to be miserable the whole time they're there, because then when they win $250,000, I'm like, oh man, they went through some stuff. Like, it's like, oh no, man, they were on vacation. They got they finished in third place, 9 challenges in a row, and then somebody gave them a star at the final, and that's how they won the money. Like, oh, I'm gonna root for you. See,
I think I understand. See, for you, I think being a hater is your love language.
I'm really big on like the challenges and the social aspect and the political play. I mean, the part of club night when they're sitting there talking and everything, sure, it's cool and everything, but it's really just a gossip hour is what it turns into. Personally,
I understand your feelings on it, but I definitely think it's a very important aspect of what the challenge is. Now, you have to excuse me for 2 seconds because I left my dog outside and I think she's about to have a fucking aneurysm.
You get an inside look at Malik's room. Yeah, I mean, and I don't know if he's gonna keep all this in. And I just think when we get to like All Stars, these people are a little bit different than like the regular mainstay challenge, and so it's not. I'm not there for the love. I watch Love Is Blind for when I want to see love. You know, we watch Love Island when we want to see a little gossip drama club night. I do think the challenge gives you the best of all worlds, but to be honest, if we could just fast forward through some of that, I'd be happy. But I think with the way the daily went, because they had 2 groups going at the same time, they really weren't able to elongate the daily. Whereas if every group went once, then they actually could push that through for a little bit longer of time. So it did seem like a really quick episode. So, all right, and you're back.
What are you talking about?
I just continued talking, and I said I didn't know if you're gonna keep it in, and I was gonna see what was up, you know, instead of just like staring into the abyss and just, you know, doing nothing. I just kept going. So, but yeah, I mean, we're starting to see a little bit of drama right after the daily happened. We got a lot of foreshadowing, you know, from Cara and you know, from Laurel and everything. So we kind of get some people talking about some things, and
well, absolutely. Yeah. One of the things I did like about that came out of club night is Jazz. You know, Tina and Jazz are talking. Jazz just like, listen, nothing. I already know that nothing I do will have you guys saving me. Why should I put any effort in it? I think Veronica called it out great. Like, Tina, you are terrible at politicking. Everybody can see the shit coming a mile away, and you're probably making things worse. And don't get me wrong, and I'm a Cara fan. I love everything that she does, but I really think I really enjoyed seeing Jazz kind of put her foot down and say, I'm going to play my game for what I think is best.
I mean, there's a specific alliance that it's kind of been talked about, but it's not really been talked about. And Cara, it doesn't fit the mold, and she won't ever be in that alliance, to be honest, that Jasmine's involved in. And so she's out no matter what. Plus, she's a strong competitor. I really didn't like how like Rachel and like Veronica were like talking about Tina, like somebody that's supposed to be their friend, and they're just like dogging on her. And it's Tina's literally just saying like, don't say Rachel's name. And then Jasmine didn't even like process it. She just goes, they'll never save me. Why would I save them? That was it. Like, what else is Tina supposed to do? Like Rachel, you're really good at this game. Rachel, you have a star. Like, what are you supposed to do? You're a double target for all those reasons and all those things. So, yeah, it's for them dogging on her. I'm sorry. Why didn't Veronica go make some good gameplay and go politic with Jasmine to get Flora?
At least she tried, and she tried her best. And sometimes your best just isn't good enough.
No.
So I definitely get that. Onto a lighter note. Did you
Give me
find
2
it?
seconds. 2 seconds.
Right.
2 seconds.
Look, he just leaves me, and he's back.
A little different, but we'll see.
All right. So onto a lighter note. How did you feel about Ryan and Derek giggling about Brad's meat stick while he was sleeping?
I mean, Brad's an old man. He sleeps like an old man.
Right,
Like,
just laid out.
If you would have told me that they all just finished family dinner and somebody turned on the TV and he's sitting on the recliner and that's how he fell asleep, I'd be like, yeah, that makes sense. Like he looks like he sleeps like an old man. And yeah, I mean, that's the fun part of the house, right? Like you have to laugh at that. And if this was like 20 years ago, he would have been drawn up and everything, and part of his beard would have been clipped and everything. And
Oh man, that would be fucking hilarious if Brad goes to sleep and wake up with no beard. His eyes would probably just bug out. Oh man, that'd be great.
More.
But on to the more serious note, now we're getting down to how the middle team is going to break it up. And a lot of surprises came. Jazz is, first off, Cam is just like, well, the obvious choice is going to be Rachel and Cara. And she starts putting that bug out there. Jazz is right on the same boat, even though her and Cara are kind of cool. Jay is going to stay loyal, but Brandon to say, hey, I'm willing to shake up the boat too. And it comes down to, and this could lead right into the actual nominations. This puts Tina kind of, just like, what, my vote isn't going to matter and it's not going to change anything.
No.
I might as well rock the boat instead of making another enemy. When it comes to Jazz and Brandon, how do you feel about the move they made to put in Cara and Rachel?
Well, they're playing Cam's game. They're in alliance with Cam and Leroy. Those four are in a tight alliance. They're doing what Cam wants them to do, not necessarily what they want to do. We've seen Jasmine play in the past, and Jasmine's very self-aware of her position in the game. She's a big talker. Like, she can talk, and she doesn't come across like she's afraid or anything. But if the Detroit Pistons try playing the Boston Celtics, I know the Boston Celtics are going to stomp the Detroit Pistons. That's what I know. So it doesn't matter how much they clap back and talk. So she's self-aware, and she's always kind of been like, well, I got to get out you because you'll take me out type person. It was a bit of a surprise because Cara is one of those people that doesn't target like Jasmine. She doesn't go after somebody like Jasmine. I don't know if she ever has. And so it is a little strange there, but I mean, you got to try and play the game. It's very odd because Brandon had a confessional that was like, Cara's, we started this together. We're really good. We're good friends. Whenever we come back, they pretty much talked about like being like summer camp friends. Like, you can not see them all this time, and then you get back to summer camp and you guys are best friends again, no matter what. And it's like you don't even miss a beat. And then he turns around and he immediately votes her in. and then at the elimination, he talks and he's like, we haven't smoked for 8 years. Like, he's mad. She was coming for him, but verbally, but it was just a very weird editing that they did.
And you know what? I was thinking the same thing. Like, this is obviously an edit, and most likely that other interview is taken probably from like, a couple of episodes back when they first got there. Like, hey, why don't you describe, your relationship with Cara? Oh yeah, me and Cara would go back. And so, I gotta go back to see if we had the same T-shirt on during the same, interview process. But yeah, that definitely makes sense.
The interesting thing here too to think about is that they were talking. A lot of talk about this is like, well, you want like how Jay's talking. He doesn't want Cara to go because Cara's got his back. Cara's strong in the game. If you're gonna be partnered up with Cara later down the road, you might not have to go into elimination. You might be safe. Whereas if you partner with no offense, somebody like Flora, who doesn't seem like she kind of cares, but isn't fully invested, you might get sent home because you're a partner with her on a guy's day. And so I think it's so early in the game to make these big power play moves. And I think that they just saw red of really good competitor, really good competitor. I don't have to go against one of them. And even if like Laurel or Cam call themselves down, really good competitors. We're talking like the top four were all eligible here to potentially one of them going home. It just seems like it was a shot really early because one of them's going to come back and they've already won dailies. They might win another daily. So I'm very surprised from some of them. Yeah, the easy vote would have just been Veronica versus Flora. You wouldn't have to worry. Neither of them are going to win a daily. They're not getting no blood on your hands. Simple stuff like that. Or it'd be like Cara versus Flora. And then it'd be like, Cara, give me that star when you win a star, type thing.
I agree with you 100%. Way too early for this kind of a shot. Like, have you guys not been watching this show? Have you seen what a pissed off, motivated Cara Maria is fucking capable of? And she always comes into these things. Like, it's very rare she comes in here with a set of lines of people she's working with. And a lot of times you hear, oh, Cara Maria doesn't have any friends. Cara Maria doesn't have any friends. And a lot of people don't give her enough credit for coming in, beasting during the game, and making friends. A lot of these things are thrown together and a lot of times out of necessity. You don't want to put her back to the wall because if you do, we see what she's capable of. She's capable of making a final even when the whole house is against her. And usually when it comes time to get her out, it's either something, shaky in the final or she can take on a whole house and succeed. Way too early for this kind of a shot. But I do kind of get it to a certain degree. We don't know what the elimination is going to be. And if you are going to take your shot, you do put in somebody like a Rachel. It's just like, if I'm going to take a shot after CT, I'm not going to have, CT versus Jay. If you're going to take a shot at CT, you also throw in another big dog.
You better not miss.
Exactly. One of them may come back, but at least one strong person is going to be gone. And there's no point in throwing in somebody like a CT if you're not going to throw in an opponent. So I do get both sides, and I don't fault them too much. I do wish that if somebody feels like you're going to be loyal to them, I think she has every right to feel hurt and betrayed by exactly what happened.
I think when it comes down to, I would never say your name. And then somebody says your name, that's where it gets hurtful. Like, it's not just like somebody like, oh, okay, it's literally like she said, like, I would never say Brandon's name. Like, I would never say his name.
Yeah.
And then he said it to me after literally he just lied to her in front of her face. And it's like, we haven't even talked yet. We don't even know till deliberation what's going to happen. Which, like, if anybody ever said that to me, I'd be like, they're lying immediately. Like, you're not talking game.
I love how her spider sense went off too. She's just like, yeah, something's up. I'm not feeling this. And then she goes just to, directly approach it. Once again, I do respect Jazz standing her ground. Hey, this is how I'm playing. So, and I respect that. And I love to see that from her. But also, you're Jazz, so no one is threatened by you.
Here's the big problem that I said at the beginning in our cast assessment, our season assessment, once they said there was going to be one winner. The fact that Brandon is worried about her in a final, yet Brandon and Cara will never go head-to-head until a final, is an issue. Because that means that Cara and Brandon are never going to interact in elimination, so they don't have to worry about that. But Cara could single-handedly help Brandon into a final and vice versa. But he's all worried about competing against her in the final. This is why, if you're going to do one winner, you have to be able to do men versus women elimination. And this elimination would have been just fine for a man versus a woman. We would have been able to have it. I think how they could have done this is they could have said, hey, if we have a man versus man or woman versus woman, we do this elimination. But if we have one that crosses, we do this elimination. And they could always have those ready. It's like, oh, we can't do hall brawl if it's, Cara versus, well, maybe actually Cara against Brandon. Maybe we could do hall brawl, but but that's my thing. Like, he's thinking about voting against her because they're competing against each other, yet they're not actually ever competing each other until the final. It's just an interesting thing, but we can move on to.
Yeah. My whole thing is there's so much more and other fat you can trim before making this kind of a move. For somebody like Brandon and Jazz, I do get the move. I think Jazz will benefit a little bit more because the less strong people she has to go against, the better she's doing. But it's just too early for these kind of moves. There's a reason why these moves take place later on. You don't want to make these kind of moves and make these kind of enemies this early.
It sets a precedent. It sets a precedent that, hey, this group right here is now going to want Cam and Cara to go against each other, Laurel and Nicole against you. Like, if you're a top tier, like, female competitor, you have to look at it and go, okay, if we don't come together, they're going to always put us in against each other. Like that, it draws a line in the sand, but we can go ahead and move on.
It really does. So Tina did the vote. It didn't really matter where she voted, but Rachel still took a little bit issue with it. I wasn't on her side with that one. I was just like, her vote changed absolutely nothing. And there's no sense of wasting any energy getting mad on it. I thought it was a little childish.
It's really childish, really petty. Well, like, if you and I ever go on the challenge and you're in nominations and I'm already locked in unanimously and you haven't voted yet, vote me in. I'm giving you the good. Vote me in. I would rather, I'm already going in. Don't burn your game against four other people. Don't do that. Get on their good side. I'm already in, not because of you, but because of them. Like,
Absolutely.
It's ridiculous.
Also, I would never vote you into elimination. I need you for trivia.
Yeah.
Need you for trivia.
Yeah, that's, that'd be my biggest flaw, that as soon as
TJ,
trivia was over, I'm thrown in.
Exactly. Hey, real quick. So this is the question. Episode 12 of season 14. Tyler? Yeah, fucking encyclopedia over there. But we get to move on to the elimination. This elimination is called Star Slice. I like this elimination. I like it a lot. I don't like it for Rachel versus Cara. This is a heavyweight championship fight. I love the fact that they're actually excited to go against each other. They're just like, with some of the best, with champions, let's see who comes out on top. And I love that energy they had towards it. I know we bitch about seeing a physical elimination, and I'm not saying we needed a physical elimination, maybe something with stamina or something. But I'm not mad at this one. I think this is fine. It's fine. I just wish they used it on somebody that wasn't Cara versus Rachel. This elimination called Star Slice. Got to stand at his place. You got to throw stars. You got to hit your opponent 3 times to get the win. But there's other setbacks or helpful boxes. Move forward 5 feet. Step back 5 feet. And if you hit yourself, you're kind of screwed. What did you think of the daily and its place in Cara versus Rachel?
I mean, you're right. It's like a heavyweight fight, and then it's like going to a UFC fight. It's a heavyweight fight, and you go, they're only allowed to play tag. It's like, wait, no, what? No, I want to see Francis knock somebody out. Like, it really kind of took the air out of the elimination. I mean, it's fine. It's an okay elimination. I think this would be better used as a daily, to be honest, where we can go head to head, and then they advance to the second stage or something. It was very odd that, like, Cara could hit her own and then she loses a point. So, like, Rachel could never actually hit a thing and still win. I didn't, and vice versa. I'm not a fan of those things. Like, you should have to earn your way in. I think this would have been a fantastic opportunity for an endurance elimination. 100%. Like, I don't know, something. It could have been something. Just that,
what I was thinking?
Took like 30, 40 minutes.
Remember Brad versus CT with the Hill Carabiner? Perfect.
Yeah.
Something like that would be perfect. Or the one where they in the cage and they got rolled around and hit the stuff. Something like that would have been great.
I really think the one main flaw that I can say that All Stars has is that the main flag show, if they call different timelines or whatever, is where you can experiment and have these kooky and like different eliminations that are just weird, and just they're challenging. But All Stars should really take it back. It always should be like, we're playing music that is from back in the day. We're bringing out the van, the RV, to show real rules. Winnebago. We're doing all these cool things to call references back to the back in the day. We're doing dailies that were done back in the day. It should all be like, hey, you were able to do this when you were 25. Can you do it at 40? Like, that's the thing. It's like, hey, remember Brad versus Abram balls in? You're doing it again, but now you both don't have knees. It's like, okay, let's see this, But that's my point. It's like we should get some of these like old school eliminations. And if you want to get creative with it, you go, this elimination right here was blah blah blah. Cara and Rachel have never done this elimination, but they've seen it. That's how we can hype it up. It's like, Kara's always talked about being in this thing, but she's never got to do it. And Rachel's never, that's what I think they could have elevated it for. Overall, I'm fine with it. It gave TJ an opportunity to really be the star of the elimination.
Why did he look like he enjoyed this so much?
I think it's because he likes those two. Like he's like the biggest Kara fan. Like if he had a Mount Rushmore, Kara's on his Mount Rushmore. And I think he really, really respects Rachel. I think strong women in the game, he extremely respects, and that thinks very highly of.
Yeah, and it doesn't get much stronger than those two. So we get to the elimination. Both Cam and Laurel have the opportunity to come down to earn these stars. They both decline. I didn't love it, but I definitely understand it. I wouldn't get myself in the middle of this unless I'm super confident at throwing stars. And it's a win for either one of them because, like they said, somebody strong is going home. So I'm okay with them staying up there. How do you feel about it?
Yeah, I would have stayed up there too. It wouldn't have been a call for me to go in no matter who it was against, the best or the worst. It's a carnival game. Anybody can be good at this. You don't know how good somebody else is, regardless of how good you are. I think if you're like Laurel is like a better version, female version of like Fessy. I don't see her ever going in unless it is I can get my hands on you type of elimination, So that's where it is. And for Cam, Cam's dirty work's getting done either way. So Cam doesn't have to go down there and do it herself.
Right.
Cam is a mafia boss. Like we talked about, Cam is literally a mafia boss. She'll get her hands dirty everybody when she else has to. Do. Yeah, but if she doesn't have to get her hands dirty, she's not going to because she knows the job's getting done either way.
Absolutely. Now, I did like the elimination. I definitely love it when they were shanking some of the throws. Like, Jesus Christ, that had to be dangerous. Move anybody who's behind there and just leave the camera in the station. Like, oh man, they were shanking some of the throws. And their reactions, I think that really made the elimination better. Everybody kind of had a lot of fun watching them, get it in. And I thought it had tension. So a lot of good things about the daily. Kara gets the W, sends Rachel home. So I'm really, really happy about that. But I want to talk about how she played getting the star. So she takes Rachel's star, and she came up, and if it was me in her shoes, I would have the same conundrum. Do you give it to somebody like Laurel? Because Lord knows you can use a strong friend right now. Or do you give it to somebody like Jazz? Keep yourself safe because somebody's going over to Jazz. I think either one of those options are wonderful ideas. And I think she picked the right one. Give your star to Jazz, because if somebody's going to come down and take a star, 9 times out of 10, they're going to pick Jazz. She later gets, Cam later says like, oh, Kara, she's not thinking strategically. She's not playing a strategic game. I was just like, what are you talking about? That's an amazing idea. What do you feel about the decision to give it to somebody to make a friend or give it to somebody to be a target? And also Cam's decision on Cam's opinion that Kara isn't playing strategic.
So on Cam's opinion, to start out with, I don't think this move matters too much. Like at first, we're gonna break down my thought process. Right away, I was like, who cares who it goes to? Like we still have 7 eliminations. Like it really does not matter, in my opinion. That's what I think. Because you don't know who's gonna have a star, who's gonna get one out. And then the whole thought of like, well, she gave it to Laurel. She has a friend, I think they're actually already friends. We saw them on the reunion of the last season, and I think that they are back to being friends again.
I don't watch reunions.
Well, so
I haven't watched reunions since I think Vendettas.
Laura really gave Kara her flowers on the reunion of Battle for New Champion, and I just think that'd have been a safe option. It doesn't matter. I think if they want to put in Laurel versus Kara, they're gonna do it regardless if she has a star, because they only can vote for who's eligible in elimination. Give it to Jasmine, sure, she can put a target on her back. And most people will probably take the star from Jasmine and be like, she won't, whatever. I do think there was a better move, to be honest. There was one move that I thought was the best move she could have made.
Give it to Cam?
She should have gave it to Cam, and that would have been like, she literally could have said, you know what, I messed up. I didn't have your back 100% on that last vote we did together. Here's this star. I'm apologizing. I'm making up for it. That's all. And Kara doesn't have to mean it, but that's all Cam wants to hear. Cam wants to hear, I'm sorry, you're right, you're the best, take the star. And then Cam's like, all right, fine, we're good for right now. And I think that would have been the best move, because it would have, if Kara thinks Cam is trying to come for her, it puts a target on Cam. Mm-hmm. But also you kind of close that bridge, and it's like stars work together, right? I think that would have been the best move. I don't think there was a wrong move here at all, to be honest. Like,
I'm inclined to agree with you. I thought about the camp thing too. I was like, the camp thing makes a lot of sense. The thing about it is, both in my opinion, the cam option and the jazz option, they both have benefits, but I think both of them are really short-term benefits. Jazz is only going to have that start up 2 episodes max, and that's because maybe tomorrow's a guy's day.
I personally think what they should have done, and this would have been production wise, hindsight's 2020. The show's already over and everything. What I think the best thing they could have done is just said like a star holder lost, so at the next daily, whatever female comes in first will get that star. Like that's
that's just way too fair. And come on,
that's how they gave the first 6 stars out. I'm just saying, like
6 stars,
because it would have made it just makes more sense. Because like I said, and now that we're at this part, now we can talk about this. Right now, look at this. We have Veronica, we have Adam, and we have Jasmine. None of them have been into an elimination at all. Adam's won a daily, so we can move him out. But we have Veronica and we have Jasmine. Right now, they could make a final. They could never get in first place, and they could never go into elimination and still be in that final. If they're always in the voting group, they can go down to when there's only 4 left. And then if they are in that final 4 and don't get voted in, they just go into the elimination, they just go into the final. They could literally be safe the whole time. So this whole gameplay is different than like seeing CT in like episode 3 of Total Madness going like, I gotta go in, I gotta get my star. We don't know how long it's gonna be, or like Wes going against Bananas because you don't know how many elimination. No, you never have to go into elimination in this series at all. This season has what do they call it when you find a loophole? There's a loophole in the system. And that's what it is right now. So we really could see that somebody could just wait till the final 4, send in 2 star holders, and then whoever loses, they get their star and walk into the final.
I think both Cam and Leroy see this as an option. I would say probably a Laurel too.
Yep.
You know, lay low, wait for your time, wait till we get a little bit closer to the end. You know, if you're in a winning position to go down there and do something, then do it. But there's really no rush. No rush whatsoever. Just make sure you don't keep yourself as a huge target. Make sure you don't paint yourself as like Ayana, get into a big argument, right before voting down and guarantee yourself in. So now we get to our favorite part, Tyler's top 5. Let me ask you a question. Do you think it's almost time to start expanding it a little bit, or are you still comfortable with just keeping our focus on the top 5?
I think keeping our focus top 5. I think when we get halfway, like when we hit 12, we'll do a 1 through 12. I think we just really need to get, because
or even a top 5 males, top 5 females.
Sure, yeah, we could end up eventually getting there pretty close when we get closer. Yeah, because like Rachel was number 1 last week, and you lose an elimination, fall off. So the fact that anybody can go in and nobody's really safe, really puts it on there that it's ever changing. And we do have 3 new faces onto this week's top 5.
Give us the rundown.
Yeah, so when I sent you the message this morning, I wasn't sure if you'd already seen the episode, so I made sure I didn't spoil it for you.
I did.
So
I usually watch it super, I get up 6 o'clock in the morning and watch it. So it's nice and, fresh.
So that's why number 1 was whoever wins the elimination. So so we'll start there. Number 1 is Cara. Number 2 is Cam. Number 3 is Laurel. Number 4 is Jay. And number 5 is Avery. Reasons why, here we go. So Avery, she won the daily the previous episode. Then this one, and so she's actually placed as a winner twice out of 4 dailies. And now on this one here, she was in control of who went in kind of and was in that situation. And she didn't vote in Cara, she actually voted in Rachel, and Rachel went home. So she has no blood on her hands right now whatsoever and got a strong competitor out. So she just had really strong. Jay is consistently performing
super consistent
so well. I literally looked over at my wife and I was like, wow, Jay is not just like doing well every now, like every episode, Jay is doing well. Somebody like, we see people that are like, I'm gonna prove people wrong every season. And it's like, nah, you're not. Jay's proving people wrong right now.
Absolutely. I am so excited to see him do well. I'm so excited to see his, redemption arc. I really can't wait to see him get into a little bit more shit. And during this episode, he stayed loyal to who he said he was going to stay loyal to.
Yeah. We see Laurel. Laurel's got another daily win on her belt. knocking off another one there.
Still dominant.
Still dominant, still doing well. She's in a really comfortable position, to be honest. Like, people are talking about Rachel, they were talking about Cara. I don't see people talking about Laurel. Cam has her two minions out there, and Brandon and Jasmine, and they did her dirty work for her. You know, she's the Dawn, and they went out and they took a shot for her, and they got out one of the targets. And so she won a daily. She's been controlling just about every vote, whichever way it's kind of going, whenever she's had influence. And then Cara is number one, obviously, because we have multiple daily wins. We have, right now, she is the number one competitor of anybody there. If I took away politics and I was just like dailies and eliminations, she's the best competitor there, man or woman. And then she just took out Rachel, who doesn't get talked about in like the female GOAT category ever, like the top 5. Rachel's like an afterthought a lot, but Rachel's really good at this game. And so Cara just took out a legend, added another notch onto her elimination belt.
Right. And when Rachel was competing regularly, she put the fair and, and the women and the men. She was very well respected. Some of that may have been lost to time a little bit, but I still think she competes well. And a lot of people in the house also know what she's capable of. So when it comes to your list, I do not hate it. I was a little shaky on Avery a little bit, but she's been fairly consistent, and I can see why she's on this list because her presence is being felt in the votes and people going home. She's kind of getting away with it, a little bit. And even though she no longer has a star, it puts a little bit less pressure on her. I still think she has to make a lot more friends. I do think she has to win a little bit. I do think she's going to need a big move under her belt. And a big move doesn't necessarily mean take aim at somebody who's well established or going after the big names. It's not always a deal. She needs to get herself into an alliance somewhere not at the bottom. You got to do something like something I think West would do. Get yourself kind of into an alliance and just start knocking out the people below you, or maybe slightly above you to move yourself up. I think she's going to be fine. Jay, like you said, has just been consistent as fuck, and we love to see it. Laurel, her own dominant self, she's playing a pretty independent game, but she's keeping her name out of people's mouths. Plus, she's one of those people, almost like a female CT or a female Fessy. If you're going to throw in the elimination, make sure somebody in there to take her out. Unless you got, I would say Nicole a little bit, because Nicole is scrappy and athletic. But unless, it's a Cam, it's a Rachel, it's a, Cara, I wouldn't even bother putting her down in there unless you're sure somebody in there can take her out. Or, of course, a janky elimination. Cara being number one, I think makes absolute sense. It wasn't her idea of getting everything shaken up. I think she's adapting to it pretty well. I just hope her social game can kind of keep up and, I don't know, and maybe take some of this pressure off or apply more force. So she needs one or the other. Got to relieve the pressure or apply it.
Yeah. And I mean, we just see that the 3 people that fell out, just Rachel went home, so obviously isn't in there. Kifla really didn't have much of a presence on here in this episode at all. Was kind of really
a little quiet.
And Adam, so Adam's a really surprising one. So every time that a guy has been up for elimination, he's won and he's been safe. But every time a female's been up for elimination, he's gotten last place each time.
He's just not trying hard.
I don't know because I thought it was interesting because episode 1, he gets a star, is safe. Episode 2, he's the reason Tina ends up going in because they get last. Episode 3, him and Avery win, so he's safe. But then episode 4, he's the reason that Cara goes in because he didn't perform. So, and Rachel. So I mean, it's interesting right now. So that's why he kind of fell out, because I want to see if it's on purpose or if it's not at all. We'll see on the next guy's day how well he does. So, but that's it.
We will. So before we get out of here, let's talk about Cara a little bit. Pressure is being applied. She defended herself pretty well. What is she going to have to do to stay safe and keep this number 1 spot, or keep herself in the top 5 and relieve some of this pressure? Do you think that she has to, maybe link up with some of the people on the outside, like Laura and Nicole? Do you think she has to take a swing at Cam to get her to back up off of her? What do you think is going to take for, Cara to get a little bit of a breather here?
She can't take this personal. She really needs to step back and
When
not
does
think of
Cora
it.
ever take anything personal? It's not even
Every
her thing.
like every shot type thing that gets thrown at her is a personal thing. I think she needs to realistically like if I was in her position, right when I went back in the house, I would pull Jasmine and Brandon aside 1v1, and I would just be like, you know what, I was a little harsh. I really understand why you made the move, and you know what, I really just want to find a way to earn your trust back, because I would never say your name, and I still won't, even though I understand your move. Like that's what I would do. You would mend fences there. Don't burn bridges. And that's kind of what you want to do. Because if you go too crazy, we've seen this on season 18. Season 18, we were in Thailand, and we had oh my gosh, I'm drawing a blank of what the name the season was called, because it was such a boring season, but it was champs versus contenders essentially. And we saw Wes and Evelyn fall to the bottom of the champions and of the ruins, and they
Ruins.
lost their mind. And instead of just like playing it cool, they just went right for the jugular. And then they were slowly out right after that because they were the mainstay target. So it's you've got to pick your poison. It's either you've got to go balls to the walls and just call everybody out and go be okay with going into every elimination after that and taking everybody out 1v1, or you've got to tuck your tail between your legs, apologize internally, don't have to mean it, but outside, let them know and make everybody else feel better. That's the two options you can do.
I agree with you. And oh man, the Ruins was such a great, messy fucking season. Hated the end. Hated the end. And probably the only time that I ever seen Darrell do something, I just like, I didn't like that. With the way him and Kellyanne gotten down, I didn't think that was necessary. And the end kind of sucked and was unfair. But besides that, I mean, when it comes to just the mess and the drama, Ruins really, really bought it.
It's a really actually, and that could be a deep dive later, but to be honest, it's a really gross season when you learn more about what happened. Like just like Darrell, like Brad's clearly drunk and just like doesn't hit him once, like hits him like 12 times, like just keeps pummeling a guy that he calls his friend, making really disgusting remarks as everybody else. Wes went on Challenge Mania a couple years ago and talked about it, and Derek had no idea that Derek was even bullying Wes. And Wes like, yeah, you guys were being rude, mean to me like every single day and picking on me, so I had to move downstairs. And Derek was like, oh, I just thought that's because you thought you were better than us. I was like, he's like, no, you guys were being bullies every single day. So I needed to separate so I could keep sane. And then everybody was mad at Wes because Wes wasn't going to be on that season. And then he shows up because
Yeah.
he was a replacement though. Somebody
And they're like,
backed
it's a
out.
huge betrayal. Like,
And it's
come
like,
on.
he didn't tell me he was going to be on here. And it's like, and everybody's like, he's a huge piece of shit. What are you talking about? He wasn't going to be on there. He just became the first solo male winner of a season. Like he doesn't, $125,000. He doesn't to be on here. So yeah, it was just a very gross season. And then we see like the way, Kenny's talking about like Sarah and making bad jokes. And obviously the background of what happened with Kenny, Evan, and Tanya.
Yeah.
It's all really gross. Dunbar and Kellyanne. It's a nasty season. The way the guys talk about Susie, it's all just really nasty. It is like a deep dive, and it's
Now,
like one of those
now I
things.
kind of want to rewatch it.
Yeah, it's one of those deep dives where people can look back and be like, because of a terrible acting human beings in that season, that's why people are better on the challenge now, and it's a safer environment. It's kind of like if you talk about high school in like the 80s and 90s, it's probably a terrible place for half the people. But now you get to today, everybody's more like sensitive in a positive way, and like essentially like they're aware of other people's sensitivity to things, and they care
Absolutely.
more.
I was a terrible person in high school. Just
That's not what I
absolutely
was trying to
terrible.
say, but yeah.
I remember when because after high school, when I was 17, I moved out of New York, went to California. And when I came back, like 15 years ago, I ran into, some people. And like, yeah, so, like some of these people had a lot to say. And like, I was just like, yeah, I'm not really that person anymore. And I didn't even think, I was doing these things that made you feel this way. It's just kind of how it was. And, it was a little bit rougher than some other places. But yeah, even like me and my friends, because we've all grown up, we're married, we have kids, and, pretty decent human beings nowadays. We look back at like, oh, we fucking terrible high schoolers. And this is why I have a lot of empathy and sympathy to young people nowadays. You guys are going to fuck up, and let's not always drop the hammer on them. But that's all I got for today. Before we get out of here, big shout out to Challenge Royal 1. She's been listening to us in high school. Got at me on X, formerly known as Twitter. Just wanted to say what's up. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Big shout out to the Unbothered Challenge Facebook group and podcast. Love you guys. With that said, Tyler, anything else before we get out of here?
I think we are good to go. I think we talked a little bit longer than we thought we'd talk about this episode today. Drama seems to be ramping up a little bit more, though. So
love to see it. Love to see it. Well, that's going to do it for us. This is the Challenge All-Star Season 4, Episode 4. Once again, I am MTV Malik. He is Tyler Lauder. This is Love, War, Challenges. Good night.
bye.